think about a lot of times. I don't think about times when I was a kid that I was sitting inside watching TV. But I do think about some of the times that I was outside and the things we were doing when we were outside. And yeah, he seemed really stimulated. And I remember you did ask, and I mean, I hope the answer is yes, but yeah, it was interesting.
I think the answer is yes, and I think I know why, but I only stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. I'm not a, I'm not a scientist, but when I went to college a few years ago for animal behavior and stuff, we learned a lot about habituation and senses and stress and animals in general. And one of the things we were talking about is how wild animals around parks, typically when they get fed, how their behavior changes over time. And it is not so much singular either, like a bear, for example. If a mama bear is grown up in this place, then she's used to going here for food. It's not a problem. So she may not have to work as hard to get food and survive. So if she has some cubs and raises those cubs the same way, then their behavior becomes dependent on the accessibility of food. This is what's referred to as habituation. And it's essentially a different way of saying, if we have certain stimulus around us, or if there's a constant sound, or if there's a constant light or low frequency this, after a while it becomes background noise and you get attuned to it. So one can no longer differentiate what is silence and what is the normal background. When I go to New York City for the first 3 days, it's pure fucking hell on me. But once I realize that this is the new background, it's the different environment, sights, sounds, smells, everything, then I tend to rationalize it and I can adjust easier. But if an individual spends more and more time in an artificial or man-made environment, that whatever environment there is, if they're in a cubicle like Office Space, that becomes their environment. And anything other than, where a stapler is, or, when somebody has to come into work, that's the realm of problems for that person in that environment. But like you were saying, Brad, to go back what you were saying, you as a country bumpkin would have a hard time going into the city because of all the stimulus, and you feel that nature is safer or more less threatening, I guess. But I'm fairly certain there are more than a few people, that look at it the exact opposite. And there are a whole lot of reasons behind that too. So maybe that comfort comes from them closing themselves off, and the only comfort they know is by themselves, not around people. Have you guys seen that in yourselves or other people? What do you guys think?
I think it comes down to stress. I think I don't mean to interrupt. Sorry, Gerbo.
No, go ahead.
You're good.
Something I've been listening to everybody's open and stuff like that, and something that I'm finally realizing is how much stress I went through while I was in, and how much it was sort of I avoided it, ignored it, and now I'm sort of on antithesis of the other end of now every little thing stresses me out. And I think if I was in the city or a bigger city, I don't think I could handle that. There's just too much going, there would be too much going on. And I think for me personally, I'm still finding out if nature's the way to go, but the distance for me from all the, all the rush and noise and stuff like that I think has helped a little bit in my, transition. But along what you were saying, Mario, I agree that there are people that are comfortable in the city, and there's people that are comfortable in the wild. And depending on how you deal with those stresses, I think that's where that synthetic is what Gerbil was talking about. Because if you have someone that normally runs in the city and you send them out on a trail out in the middle of the woods, they're never going to enjoy the nature and be able to be in harmony. Just like if someone in the trail, if they go into a city and they're running on a street or on a sidewalk is no easy task. It's completely different than what they're used to in their norm. So in learning how to deal with those things, I know we were talking about background. It's like tinnitus. For me, I don't hear my tinnitus during the day, but as soon as I lay down in bed and it's nice and quiet, I mean, it's like it's a megaphone in your ear and it's just ringing. But along the, so I think all of it wraps around. But I think, and for my personal opinion, again, not an expert, I think everybody should have some connection to nature. And in a city, if you have if they had a garden or a park or something, and spending time there without your phone, without all the electronics and all the annoyances that you guys are talking about, headphones and all this other bullshit, I think would overall make everybody happier. And that's just, stuff that I think I've picked up. Also, when we were in the military, I mean, let's be honest, you go out the silver flag and you hike way out there with you and your team, and it'd be nice and quiet. And it's sort of, yeah, you were working and you were training and stuff, but it was still relaxing to be out there to just, to be in quote unquote nature, even though you're rucking and all that shit. It was still nice at night, look up at the sky if it wasn't raining and you didn't have no CMs hovering over you, see stars and enjoy the water and
which
stuff
was
like
never that. Because there were always the no CMs. So
yeah, well, except for when it snowed. They went away when it snowed, but
yeah.
But that's my 2 cents. I agree with what everybody's saying. It's just a personal point of view, but I think every human is connected to nature somehow and should be, especially trees and going out and just sitting near a pond and being away from people just for a little while. I think that makes people gain respect for not only nature but also their community and their own health also, to sort of feel connected to something else. Not via computer or the phone or any bullshit, but really connected. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you for letting me chat.
Hey, I'd be remiss, Brian, if I didn't introduce you to Mario as a fellow DTC facilitator. Do you guys know you share that connection? You do now.
No, yeah, I was one of the original facilitators, EOD facilitators at the DTC to actually stand up the program with Steve Stillings back in June of 2010. So I spent 4 months down there trying to assist EOD technicians and other career fields coming through, help them take that tactical pause, so to speak, to get back to something that looks like normal civilian life, so it's not such a shock on their system when they get home to their family or newborns 24 hours later. And Project Felix kind of started from this idea, almost 12 years ago. So yeah, no, I'm really thrilled to have your input. I know we all are, because this is such a evolving idea. It's very dynamic. There's no set program or anything, because this starts off of helping ourselves. And we determined that if we just continue working on ourselves with ourselves, and if we put it out there, not in a way that we know everything, but hey, this is what we're talking about because we're having a hard time with this. What do you guys think? And so far it seems to work for some. So